What's up? It's Wednesday, January 25th. You're listening to episode 85 of the Chasing Points podcast, your weekly honest dive into the world of sports. I'm Sam. I'm back. How are you? What's up, Brandon?
Hey, Sam.
Hey, Brandon. Thanks for holding down the fort. I was not here last week, and special shout out to Harrison for always keeping the seat warm and doing a bang up job. So sounds like you guys had fun.
I mean, any time without you is fun, Sam. So, yeah.
I appreciate that. How you been? What's new?
Watching football, watching what's going on this. It's just been a crazy time with some sports right now. And it's getting closer. Like now I have more time back to myself because it's less football games. That's number one.
Yeah, right.
So I have that. So I have more time to do. And I'm telling you right now, I definitely know the lady enjoys that a whole lot. That's number one, but also means that basketball is going to ramp up for me. So, sorry, babe. How are you doing?
Hey, man. Same. I actually got to watch a lot of football and did a lot of family stuff lately and feeling good. So we're,
I'm really upset I missed UFC this weekend, but it's all right.
How did I end up watching a UFC pay-per-view and you did not?
Where was I Saturday? It was Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Saturday,
after the Eagles game.
Saturday was me working at Marist and then the Eagles game, and then me celebrating the Eagles game, and then me going home and passing out. So yeah, that's what happened.
That'll do it then. Yeah, man. But
yeah.
Big past weekend, as you alluded to, your Eagles, my Bengals, big division games. We're gonna wrap those up. Look ahead at the conference finals. Of course, got a little game we're gonna play and do some NBA talk. A trade happened.
Very happy for it.
But yeah. And we have time, we'll play some Do You Care? Are you ready?
Yep, let's go.
So I guess we'll just work backwards, or more intriguing games than not. I guess if that's the case, we have to start with the 49ers taking down the Cowboys 19-12 on Sunday night. I don't even know where to start with this one. I mean, Dak, 206 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Again, cannot take care of the football. And again, Dallas's season ends on the last play of I guess every game ends on the last play of the game, but just a hell of a way to lose again with that last play. But I guess we'll get into all of that. Hayes, what do you think of your pick? You picked the Cowboys to beat the 49ers. So I'm going to give you a second to let us all know what you're feeling.
Well, if you heard what I said and why I picked them and what my rationale was behind it, you would know that I said maybe this is reverse psychology and I want them to lose. That was 100% a part of it, but that wasn't the full thing. The thing is, especially this season, you don't know which Dak you're going to get. And I've come on here plenty of times and said, I respect Dakota Rain, but Dakota, I don't think respects his own game because, or he just might not respect the Cowboys. And I know the Cowboys fans at this point in time really don't have respect for him, nor does the Twitter that decided to go out there and blame him, the official Cowboys Twitter, blame him, which they have not taken it down, which means it is okay by Jerry, which means it's a big message to me that you're okay to slander your own guy on your Twitter account, not take it down. And good and damn well that he sees it, everybody in his family sees it, and the whole team sees it. The whole sports world sees it. So I'll go back to the game. Since coming back, the talk was the Cowboys have the best offense. And Dak threw pick after pick after pick after pick after pick. In total, if I remember correct, he had 17 picks this year.
Tied for the most picks, I think, with Davis Mills, and he didn't play 5 games this year. Davis Mills didn't play a full season either, but Davis Mills is not very good.
So a graphic, I think it was up there for it was a graphic with Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston, and him for the most picks like in a season. And I was just, you end up on a graphic like that. That says everything I need to know about your season. But the Cowboys still had a chance to win.
Yeah,
Their
despite all of it.
defense, their defense played phenomenal. Like there's nothing that you can say poorly about them outside of Diggs missing the hit on not Kelsey. What's his name? Why can't I think of his name? Tight end.
Oh yeah, Kittle. Yeah, big
Missed
play,
that
but
huge hit on him. Had a pick, missed that. So that was just that. But that's a part of the flow of the game. But the way that these boys were getting at Purdy and making him, think this is the first game that I really had to see Purdy really, really think. But the offense, as soon as Tony Pollard went down, they made no adjustments. None. I think this was blaring obvious that Zeke won't be back there next year, because if Tony Pollard's gone and the argument was, who is it, Zeke or Tony? Who's the better? Zeke didn't do anything after that outside get absolutely destroyed on the last play of the game as a center,
oh my
which
God.
I have no idea what the hell the Cowboys were thinking about that. You literally got Zeke put on his ass, and then you got, I forgot the wide receiver where you throw that, and he got absolutely drilled.
Oh yeah, Cavante Turpin. Yeah.
Yes. So the Cowboys did win a playoff game, and they won against the Bucs, but this was just terrible. And I just don't know what they have to do. Honestly, if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm begging them to blow up the team. And I don't mean get rid of Mike McCarthy, because actually, with Mike McCarthy, they went to the playoffs 2 years in a row.
12 wins each season too.
Yes, wins. And yep. So I don't think it's McCarthy. I would say Kellen Moore's got to go. And
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I was not really impressed with Kellen Moore last year, and shared that. I think we both did. And I didn't quite understand all of the attention he got from like the Jaguars and other teams for head coaching gigs. And I truly don't get it now. I could see a couple years ago when he became OC, and he's doing some different things, but there is no imagination in this playbook,
none whatsoever.
Except for when you want to line Zeke up as a center and try to is that the best way to start a whole last play of the game where you're just lateraling to everyone? I could think of better ways, but
if anything, you put 3 offensive linemen out there, and then you put wide receivers.
As long as 7 guys are on the line, you can just do whatever you want. But I didn't quite understand it. And I could agree. I mean, I could go either way with Mike McCarthy. I think the only way you really pull the trigger on that is if Sean Payton wants to come back to Dallas. And I don't think
he goes there at all.
Yeah. But if you're Jerry Jones, you're picking up the phone and you're calling the Saints.
Of course you should. But I think that you also have to think of this with Kellen Moore. He's the only leftover piece from the previous regime. Yeah. Mike McCarthy didn't add him to his coaching staff. Jerry said he stays. So I think that's one of the pieces. And Dak has 2 years left in his contract. I think this team is going to start looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because if you're smart, you look and see what's going on at a team in your division. You look at the Eagles and see what they just did. You made no moves like that. You went and got T.Y. Hilton, which is a solid wide receiver. You passed on Odell because you didn't know what was going on with his ACL. Nobody did, right? So we understand why that happened. But there's other players that you could have went out and got. You let Amari Cooper walk, which I still think is a stupid move. Yeah. Randy Gregory left in the offseason to go to the Broncos, right? You guys, they didn't go and fill any voids. Meanwhile, on the opposite end, Howie Roseman is out here getting all of these players, and it's in your division, and you're just watching this happen, and you make no moves. Cowboys have to think about what they truly have to have the biggest self-evaluation in the offseason. They really legit have to take time to look at it, because as an Eagles fan, obviously I hate the Cowboys. But if I'm talking real about this, they're not far off from taking the next step. They are definitely missing some offensive pieces, and that's why I alluded to Amari Cooper. You let a guy like that go, just imagine Amari in this offense. That would have
Well, I
changed a
mean, we've
lot.
seen it. We've seen it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Gallup didn't show up. CeeDee Lamb has got a case of the bobbles. Now you're not going to have Tony Pollard, who is a free agent, right? Now he's going to be out pretty much for a bulk
Yeah,
of
they can
next season.
yeah, broken fibula and
Yeah,
ankle sprain. Yeah, a bummer. And he's a free agent at year's end. I don't know if you just said that or not,
I
but
did.
yeah, and I think it's time that they can get out of Zeke's contract without really huge cap ramifications. Whereas they can't do that with Dak yet. But as you mentioned, it's probably time to start really taking a look at what's under center there. And, when the most consistent part of your offense, aside from CeeDee Lamb, who, again, has his moments, I think he caught over 100 yards and he's still a dynamic receiver. It's Dalton Schultz, right? Like, there's a lot that needs to be done on this team. And yeah, as you mentioned, a lot of holes need to be filled. And when your division, you have a team like the Eagles, as you just mentioned, who's like the cream of the crop. The Giants are, had a bad showing on Saturday, but they're certainly trending in the right direction.
Mhm.
It seems like they have the right people in place at the right positions to really make this team better. And the Redskins I'm sorry, I did it again. The Commanders are the Commanders, and that's, they're gonna command dirt up everything. So it's
I
like,
really can't believe you just did that.
yeah,
I really
whatever.
wish you would walk
So
that
yeah,
back.
it's gonna be a interesting offseason in Dallas for sure. But I don't really want to spend too much time talking about that when you have a team. I mean, it wasn't really they could have easily lost this game.
Yep.
Purdy didn't win this game for them, but he
Nope.
definitely didn't lose it. And he's the first rookie to beat Dallas in the playoffs since
Hmm.
'86.
That was another thing that they
Pretty good.
lost to a third string quarterback
Yeah.
who might be the first string quarterback next year.
And 12 straight wins for San Francisco. That's the longest winning streak since '84. And I thought you'd like this. CMC had a touchdown in his eighth straight game. And that's the longest since your boy T.O. in 1998. How old do you feel?
Not old. I'm young as I want to be. Uh, the Niners did not impress me at all. I mean, both defenses did their thing,
Oh, yeah.
but Dak shot himself in the foot because the plays that he did and created and gave the ball over were easily avoidable. And I think that changes the game if he doesn't throw those picks like that. I mean, for sure, we already know picks change games, right? If Diggs would have had that pick, it could have been a pick six. That could have changed the games. And there's a lot of what ifs. And I don't want to sound like a Cowboys fans because y'all are doing enough of that on Twitter. But the Niners did not do too much to impress me. But CMC is probably one of the best pickups any team has made this whole season because that turned their team around. And that is no surprise with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. They know and are always looking for people to upgrade and boast. And the amazing job that D'Amico Ryans is doing with that defense out there. They're playing tough. But if I'm being honest, after watching this game, with either of these teams and the way they play, and I know it's a week by week basis, game plays changes or game plans change each week. As an Eagles fan, I'm really not too concerned.
Yeah. It's it's hard to feel otherwise. I think, yeah, as a non-Eagles fan, just a guy cheering for the Eagles because my good friend across the screen from me cheers for the Eagles, and I have to hear about the Eagles every week for the last 2 years. So,
You do.
there's that. I mean, yeah, let's just get right into that Eagles game then. I mean, just a beatdown on the Giants after the third time they've seen them this year. I mean, week 18, the Giants didn't start anybody. It was, you know, it, It was just they played a game, but they still beat the Giants 3 times this year. Jalen Hurts, only 154 yards in the air, but a couple touchdowns or another rushing touchdown. And Daniel Jones just not doesn't have the magic from the year of the week before, but 135 yards in the air and 24 on the ground, and he threw a pick as well. So I mean, just did not come together for this Giants team, and from the start, the Eagles defense was just swallowed this offensive line and offense whole, and just did not let them do anything, and was really just a beatdown, dude. Congrats. You feeling good? You like it?
I'm not feeling good about it because I expected it to happen. Hence me missing the first 2 touchdowns. I chose to go work at Maris because I knew the Eagles were going to be up by the time the game was over. That's how cocky I was about the game. But I didn't tell anybody that because I've been keeping it to myself about every step of the way of how I feel. And this was out of all the games that they played this year, this was the most confident game that I had all season. Normally they make me nervous. I was not nervous at all, which scared me that I wasn't nervous than going to playoff game. But then I realized that and when I watch teams speak about their team, that they think they've ascended to being Super Saiyan, that they've ascended to be walking, living gods. I remember that when teams do that, their fan base does that, rouse certain teams up, and they went out and they beat the Vikings, who I said on this podcast for the whole entire year, Sam as well, that they are frauds. And I also said and I said it last week, or excuse me, before they beat them, I said, I believe the Giants are going to win, and here's why. Because the Vikings always play a second half game, and that's not going to work in the playoffs. They did that all damn season, and guess what? It didn't work. So now Giants fans were gloating. We beat the Vikings. I got to see a video, Sam. Made me so happy to watch. Giants fans gloating in Minnesota, saying F the Eagles. Ironically, somebody locally was in that video that I know very, very well. And I just put it as a little receipt, made sure I kept it right in my nice little front pocket, waited for it.
All right, Coach Saleh.
You see what happened here? 3 times in 1 year.
I'm not going to get okay. There's always going to be.
I am not goddamn done, Sam. I'm going to take my time to gloat. Now, you got Danny Ducks over here, who I will put some respect on his name because he had a way better year than anyone I'm sure expected.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
But the fact that people were calling him Vanilla Vic, I will slap somebody in their face if I hear anybody in person.
Saquon called him that.
Yeah, and I would smack him too. And I love Saquon. Saquon's out of his goddamn mind. Okay, Vanilla Vic. Don't ever mention Danny Duck in the same line as Michael freaking Vick. They do not compare. Stop it. Saquon, you're out of your goddamn mind for that one. I love you, bro. But that one was ugh. But I will stop now because,
Okay, can I finish now?
Yeah.
There's always going to be a vocal minority of fans that are obnoxious, and certainly there's no love lost in the Eagles-Giants rivalry. But this Giants team, and I'm a Jets fan, this Giants team, no one except Dame, our very own Dame, on this damn podcast, that's the only damn person I heard all year that gave any kind of love to the Giants. And he's not even a Giants fan. So,
partial.
Well, to do it, this team was playing with house money and was far and away better than anyone thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones had a very good season, and he's in line to make some money, whether it's in New York or somewhere else. And Saquon was healthy, and he had a really good year.
As he said overall, he was going to.
And this team did it with still, a huge hole in the offensive line still. I mean, the Eagles got to Jones 5 times in this game. I think that was the most in the Super Bowl era in the playoffs for him, which is great. Good for them. And, again, who's the number one receiver on this team? So it's like, yeah, good job, Giants. Like I didn't think they had a chance in this game. I know you didn't.
No.
But they had a good season. They're trending in the right direction.
They are.
Respect.
They are. They're missing a wide receiver. They're definitely missing a wide receiver. This offseason is going to be a big offseason for them because if they do decide to bring back Saquon and Daniel Jones, what it seems like they are trying to do, they're going to pay them, which is going to do what to the rest of the team, Sam?
Yeah, it's gonna crunch up everything else. There's less
Exactly.
money to go around for sure.
Exactly. So if I'm them, if I take the Tom Brady route, and I've been gloated about Tom Brady a little bit, which I never really do with Dame recently. And I said, one thing that I don't think people put enough respect on Tom Brady's name for is he never took the max deal throughout his whole entire career, which allowed the team to use that money and put people in places that need to be put in. It freed up space to do certain things. Now, I'm not saying don't go and get your money because you obviously know I'm a huge advocate for Lamar Jackson going to get his damn money. If you deserve that money, get your money. But at the same time, when you do that, you're going to lose players. Look at Patrick Mahomes. He lost Tyreek Hill. That clearly didn't affect him too much because he's Patrick Mahomes, right? But not every team has a Patrick Mahomes, right, Sam? So I'm really curious to see what they do this offseason because that will tell the true future of the Giants for me. And maybe they get some sleepers, but I know with Brian Dable, they should be pretty well going forward.
Yeah, it's interesting because now there's reports today out of Fox Sports that Saquon's looking for 16 million a year, and that's kind of what Christian McCaffrey gets paid. And he turned down $12 million a year from the Giants at some point during the season, or maybe before the season. I'm not quite sure, but he turns down that money. And I mean, Daniel Jones is going to get Dak Prescott money, but you could make the case, why not? Right. So then it kind of it could, to your point, could quickly turn into a Cowboy situation where I mean, I don't think you should be paying. And I really like Saquon, as I know you do. But I would not pay that guy $16 million a year. And, you're going to get really crunched really soon once you sign both those guys. You'll probably tag one of them and try to, sign the other. But to your point, too, Daniel Jones is not in the position to take a hometown discount. And this could likely be the only payday he gets as a free agent, so that
Let
big
me let,
contract,
let me
if
ask
he
you
gets
this.
one.
Let me ask you this. They're looking to pay him, and you said potentially around Dak money. He's
No,
had
I'm just saying
no,
why
no, no.
I'm
Listen,
making
listen,
I'm making the
listen,
argument.
listen,
Why not?
listen. I'm asking you a question. You're not even letting me finish. You're saying that, but my question to you is: he's had one standout season.
Sure.
Do you think that he deserves a contract relatively close to something like that?
No.
Okay, that's
If I
all I want to know.
um Look, he finally had the year that a lot of people thought maybe Dave Gettleman thought he could have. I I didn't see anything special. He was in school. I didn't see anything special that made him be the sixth pick. Um, I would, if I were the Giants, I would certainly try to bring him back on a shorter term deal and see what you can get out of him, but also keep one foot in the door of free agency, or I wouldn't say the draft. I mean, you have a late first round pick, but look, I'm also the guy that has roots for a team that's drafted Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson in the last 6 years. So I get it, but you know, Daniel Jones showed that he was, a pretty decent quarterback this year, and he definitely reversed the trends of him not protecting the football, and that was the biggest thing against him. He's got great footwork. He can move out of the pocket. He's got a nice arm. He's got some touch on the ball, but he could never protect the football. And sure, a lot of that comes with offensive line too, and they've certainly invested in updating the line there. But yeah, I would definitely try to bring him back, but also kind of keep my options open. If there was a situation where you could seriously upgrade, do it. But this team is ahead of schedule as far as the NFL is concerned, right? No one thought that they were going to win X amount of games and be the fifth or sixth seed in the playoffs, whatever they were. So, good season for him. And they're certainly trending up, and uh that's great. But yeah, your Eagles look insane. It just looks great. It was over before it started. Very quickly, as you mentioned, you missed the first couple touchdowns, but it happened quick. And you talk about just momentum that the Giants were just kind of out of it after that. As I mentioned too, that the Eagles rushed for 268 yards. That's the second most in playoff history for the team, and they had their largest margin of victory in a playoff game in franchise history, uh, by 31 points. So I mean, it was just a beatdown. But we'll get to what we both think of the NFC title game in a couple of minutes. But let's move along to Sunday afternoon. The Bengals took care of the Bills at home, 27-10. Joe Shiesty, as he likes to be called, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Josh Allen on the other end, 265 yards and a pick. And similar to this Eagle game, it was Cincinnati in control of this football game very quickly. And Joe B joins Russ Wilson and Big Ben as the only starting quarterbacks to win 5 games in their first 3 seasons. Also the fifth in Super Bowl era to win their first 3 road games. So I mean, it was just a great performance by the Bengals and Joe Burrow and the steep Bengal defense too. But it's more, can we start can I bring something up to you? Can we start pointing the finger at Josh Allen? He has been certainly inconsistent at times this season, and he's looked like the best quarterback in football at times, and he's looked average at times. And it wasn't a great game. When I thought I picked the Bengals to win this game. You did as well, but I was really nervous about the momentum of this fan base of this
Mhm.
team. DeMar Hamlin, we both thought was going to make his presence, show up there, and he was in a box, and certainly the place erupted. I really thought that momentum was going the Bills' way, and quickly the air let out of that balloon. Your thoughts on what happened on Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I've been waiting for this moment for Josh Allen. And it's not like I dislike the guy, but I've had I want to bring you into the discussion that I had with a buddy. And I find it real funny that certain players, you'll pick up what I'm putting down. Certain players, when they have a pre draft evaluation, can never shake their pre draft evaluation. Okay. Certain players can never do it, but players that resemble a Josh Allen, their draft evaluation gets discarded. I'm going to read you something. Allen's film shows poor decisions and errant passes where the ball gets away from him. His subpar completion percentage can be attributed to poor decisions, passes thrown too hard, drops, and plain misses. When Allen misses, he tends to miss big and often throws high on crossing routes. His footwork needs to be refined so that he steps into throws, aligning his body with his shoulders, an issue a lot of arm throwers have. He leaves a clean pocket too often, not trusting his offensive line, and will extend plays instead of throwing the ball away, which can lead to a loss of yards. Does that describe Josh Allen this year, Sam?
Yeah, yeah. At
It
times,
does, right?
definitely the first year or two of his career too.
This
And
was written by Matt Miller in April, on April
um,
26, 2018.
yeah, Matt's the man.
Sounds spot on, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And that was I follow the draft a little closer than you. Our buddy Dave, who's on this pod, often, and we talk about the draft all the time, and he was saying a lot of the same things. And look, Josh Allen had a couple years where he was looking like an MVP, and I still think he is one of the better quarterbacks in this
I
league. Do
agree.
not get me wrong.
I agree.
He is not, you know, he is less of that scouting report than he used to be. But, Is he missing Brian Dable? Is there something, like he's kind of regressed at certain points. And it'll probably come out at some point this week how bad he's hurting, right? I mean, he's a big dude. If you're the Bills, if you're Bills fans, if you're the front office, you cannot be happy with the amount of hits this dude takes and willingly, right? Like he needs to learn to slide, to
There
get
you
out of
go.
bounds, to not
It's
put
a
his
him
shoulder
thing.
down and truck dudes.
Let me stop you right there. Didn't they say something like that towards Lamar Jackson, and they could not stop talking about it for quite some time? That Lamar takes too many hits, or
I
a Cam Newton takes too many hits, or so many other players that are mobile people take hits. It's what's going to happen. The thing is, can he clean this up? I don't know. This is literally a part of his report in 2018. This is who he is. Now, to your point, he is a phenomenal quarterback, because I didn't read the positives, but we know what the positives are,
Oh yeah, sure.
because
He's
we've
got a
seen he
cannon,
has a cannon on him.
great footwork.
I don't know about great footwork,
Okay.
but his arm is amazing. And I know when he is on a hot streak, it's over. And it's just really, really sad to see that he started to excel when when Diggs came over, Stephon Diggs came over.
And who wouldn't?
And you're right. Well, some couldn't take
Oh,
advantage of
well,
that,
I
Sam.
mean, okay, you're right. You're right. You're right. My
Let's be
bad.
fair. Some
So,
some can't take advantage of that. But you get Diggs, right? And he takes his game to another level. I do agree with you, and I think that is one of the more underrated things. Is the loss of Brian Dable is big. Coaching and systems, which we don't talk about enough, systems are big things that change how players play. You see it anytime you saw what happened when Carson Wentz lost Frank Wright, started going,
yeah,
right? And
sure.
he's about to be out of the damn league, essentially,
And Mike
right?
Kafka too, who's doing a phenomenal job in New York. And I mean, now Ken Dorsey is the offensive coordinator. I don't
Yep.
know who the QB coach is,
Yep.
but yeah, it could certainly make a difference. And I think it did.
I
It
do
was
as
it
well.
was the weather was rough too. I'm not giving a break to anyone. They play in Buffalo. This is should be to their advantage. Buffalo still, I mean, their line is above average at best. And I like a lot of the pieces on that line. I wish Mitch Morse was a Jet when the Bills signed him. I wanted him to be our center so bad. And they have no running game other than Josh Allen. And I think to the point of running quarterbacks, right? I mean, Lamar's stature, although he is one of the most dynamic runners in the league, maybe Tyreek Hill, and who's not a quarterback. So for a quarterback, he's one of the most dynamic rushers in NFL history. Honestly, he's the most, you know, because he surpassed what Mike Vick could do. But you would be concerned if Lamar Jackson was taking a hit. There's a difference
Yep.
between Lamar taking a hit and Cam taking a hit.
Yep.
There's like
Absolutely.
6 inches and 50 pounds between the two of those guys.
Yep.
Or Big Ben or whoever. There comes
What,
a point in
what
quarterback play where you stop a guy like Josh Allen, a guy like Cam, stop just okay, I gotta move, I gotta go. And you roll out more, you do more of the Patrick Mahomes where it's like he's not known as a rushing quarterback, but he's very good on the move, and he's very good when he needs to extend a play or to just get a first down on
what did
his with
Lamar
his legs.
what did Lamar do this offseason? He went and
He
put
bulked
some
up.
weight on.
Oh
He
yeah,
bulked
totally.
up. Yes, because he
Yeah.
knows he's going to take hits because he's a mobile quarterback. It's just what comes with the territory. But the thing is, the mobile quarterbacks that last in the league are the ones that know when to get down,
Yep.
know when to get out of bounds, and know when to stop a play. The ones that don't last long are the ones that end up being out of the league, i.e., Cam. Right? After a while, Cam's injured his arm to the point that his throwing motion was no longer the same. Cam had a cannon. He wasn't the most accurate, but he could still get the ball down the field. After that injury from rushing, he hurt his shoulder. So guess what?
And he
It
had a
changed Cam's game.
Liz Frank injury too on his foot.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. So it's what comes with the territory. But enough about them. It really sucked to see that they lost with DeMar Hamlin in the actual building, which I was as soon as I saw him there, Sam, I was just like, there's no way they're losing this game. Like in my
Yeah.
head, I was like mentally, like it's a storybook thing. My mind went to like the movie. I saw the script
Oh, it
already
was
being written.
totally
I
a
was just
movie.
like,
Yeah. Oh,
I was like, it's
totally, man.
snowing outside. He's
That's
out
a
there
Disney
throwing a
movie in
heart
three
up, right?
years. Yeah, yeah.
100%. I was like, there's
100%.
no way they can lose this game. Yep, there is, because Joe Burrow's on the other side. And Joe Burrow is Thorough Burrow, as Dame would like to call him, is an absolute monster. When it comes to times, when it comes to clutch times, he doesn't miss. He is so accurate. He throws his guys open. He puts it where the ball needs to be. He is just an absolute confident young man, and his composure is well beyond his years, and I absolutely love that about him. And his sound bites are so amazing.
So great.
The post game sound bite was probably one of the greatest things I ever heard, talking about, the tickets purchased for the Atlanta game. And he said, better get your refunds. I just thought he's just such that dude, man. Did you see the clip, the reel that they had of him throwing the ball and spinning
Oh, the
around?
spin. Yeah,
Oh
man.
my God. I could
The
watch.
touch.
I've
Yeah.
literally watched that probably like 50 times
Dude,
already.
I want to take a little credit, at least on this podcast. Been riding these Bengals for a
You have.
year now, year and a
You have.
half, and it's this dude's got. I know a lot of people say this about athletes, but ice in his veins, and he is so. I look at him and I don't see just at first glance the person that he is. It's not assuming, right? Like he's like, all right, this guy's not. You just look at him. This guy's not a tough guy. Whatever, and he is just Joe Cool
He's cold,
and
man.
those cold like a killer, man. And he's beaten Patrick Mahomes 3 times, and it's gonna be a great game next week. And this
if
Bengals
he
team looks really good, and they
if
protected him too, which is really important. He only got sacked once.
if he beats the Chiefs this week, which I know we're gonna get to those things, those picks later, does he surpass Mahomes?
On what level? As a quarterback
I
prospect,
you
as a
you tell me what level in your own mind.
I
I'm just
think
asking you that question.
I think as a prototype quarterback, like if you were to draw up what you want in a quarterback, Patrick Mahomes is there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it was Aaron Rodgers before that. I think Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers are Patrick Mahomes is a obviously now younger, just from a skill standpoint, better Aaron Rodgers. But I have no problem with, and I know this has been a talking point in the media this week, but I have no problem with putting Joe Burrow number 2 right now. No problem at all.
Okay, that's all. I'm just curious on that.
Yeah. And
Um,
and January matters. February matters.
it matters to me. That's the most clutch time. I don't
Yeah.
care what
But
you do to get into the tournament. You got to get, once you're in the tournament, it's what you do there. I don't care what you do prior to that. Just
yeah,
get there.
just get there, man. And they won
Get
the
there.
division and they did it, and they've done it all on the road, which is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But real quick before we turn our attention to that Chiefs Jaguars game, Stephon Diggs shut down by of all people Eli Apple and that Bengals secondary, which
Don't you
is
dare say that, Sam. You want me to fight you on this podcast
I
today?
heard what you said about Eli Apple
You.
last week. I totally agree with you. I'm just Stephon Diggs, 4 receptions, 35 yards, and just a mom and dad were fighting on the sidelines. He did not look too happy at Josh Allen. Reports are he walked right out of the stadium, and of all people, Duke Johnson had to get him to come back into the
Yeah.
clubhouse.
Yeah.
And then he ended up leaving right after. So it's like, what do you make of the Stephon Diggs thing? He obviously blew it off on Twitter. And certainly, I mean, this is a guy who has, when they've lost big playoff games, he stands on the field and watches the celebration, and he's certainly an emotional player. But what do you make of what happened, kind of off the field in that Buffalo sidelines?
Before the social media era, if this would have happened, they would have called Stephon Diggs a diva.
Sure.
Before the social media era, that's exactly what they would have called him. Right. But here we are. And anybody knows that wide receivers want the ball, especially in clutch times. And when that is your best player on offense outside of the quarterback, because the best player on that offense is Josh Allen. The second best player would be Diggs. And I wouldn't say if it's one, it's 1A, or, like it's right there. When he is not, I would do everything in my power to game plan to get him the ball. If I have to do a halfback screen with him, if I have to do slants, if I have to do a straight go route for him, I'm trying to find multiple ways to get the ball in his hand, especially if Eli Apple even sniffs the field around Diggs, I'm throwing the ball to Stephon Diggs. I'm not thinking twice about it. Okay. But the fact that he left, I mean, he's pissed. He wanted to win. It's an early exit again after again after again. Like, it's just over and over and over and over again. It's just the same feeling. Who likes to continuously lose? I don't. I don't like to lose once. So
Right.
I understand how he feels. I just think it's a bigger thing. Like, he can leave. The season's over. He's done. What is he supposed to sit there and sing Kumbaya and sit there and make s'mores in the locker room? Like, nah, I'll see y'all. I'm gonna talk to you guys. Bye. I'm done. I'm out of here. He's gonna be back in the facility at some point this week, because they all come back anyway to clean up everything and make sure they have all their stuff gone. Even though I know that he said he packed up his stuff, I'm sure he'd be back. But yeah, I don't make too much of it, Sam.
Yeah, I don't either. The weather was tough. Josh Allen obviously didn't have a good game. And I think there could, to your point about how dynamic Diggs of an athlete and receiver he is, they could have schemed him up a little better. Certainly with, they don't really have a running game. So, and you look at someone like Gabe Davis too, who can just, you say, take the top off a defense. Like, that's what Gabe Davis does. And there were some, Allen threw some, had some bombs and those attempts, and he always does, but I don't think there were any completions that, longer than 20 yards. I think there was only one or something like that. So I may be wrong there, but just being able to utilize the guys on the outside that you have with Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, it could have been a little better, but certainly, I think the Bills are the first preseason favorite to win the championship that didn't advance to the title game or conference title game in X amount of years, a while. So
I think we pretty much called it earlier in the season that they weren't looking like the championship team that we thought they were going to come in. There's a lot of storylines that we came into the season with, thinking certain teams were going to be here at the end, and we thought the Bills were going to be in the tourney.
Yeah,
but
I think most of us thought he was going to be in the Super Bowl. I mean, but we also saw it firsthand when we were at the Meadowlands. Like, we looked at each other. Some of these throws, he was clearly hurt. And again, I would not be surprised if something comes out how bad he's hurting, and he's not going to make excuses for it. And that's just,
he shouldn't, because everybody gets hurt. Literally, all football players say it's after the first day of spring training, you're hurt, and from that point beyond, you're hurt. Like, everybody's hurt. So nobody's wants to hear that excuse. But what I'm not
making it.
Not you.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some people that are going to make the excuse for it. Speaking of hurt, Sam.
Yeah.
There's a quarterback going into this week. But last week on what was Sunday? Was it Saturday?
Saturday afternoon. Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes got hurt in their win over the Jags, which was the Chiefs winning 27-20. He hurt himself. Chad Henne came in, stepped in like, hold my beer.
Again.
Cheers to Chad Henne for that.
There you go. Cheers.
And actually goes on a 98-yard TD drive. The part that I took away the most from that whole entire game, like, yes, the Chiefs won. Kelsey's a problem. We know this. I'm going to get to the Jags in a second. But what I took away from that is seeing how much passion Patrick Mahomes has, and how he felt when Andy and the coaching or the medical staff were telling him, no, you got to go get x-rayed, like, now. And he's like, no, I'll do it at halftime. Like, no, you got to go now. And Andy is that guy that commands respect and doesn't want his guy to get hurt, because guess what? Mahomes signed a huge ass deal. He's going to be there for a long, long time. So if you mess up yourself bad now, that's going to mess up your future too. So he had to swallow the pill and go get an x-ray, and he's taped up. And I know he came back out, but if anybody listening to this podcast has ever sprained your ankle, high, low ankle sprain, regardless, doing anything to your ankle in a game, it hurts like hell. I've done it in basketball plenty of times, which probably led to me rupturing my Achilles. I'm sure it had something to do with it eventually. I'm not a doctor. I'm just assuming. Anyway, I just remember tying my laces so tight so you can continue playing, and you still weren't the same person you were when you started it. But as soon as you took that shoe off, how your ankle would blow up, how stiff it would get, mobility is gone. And I know he's getting shot up with some cortisone shots,
Oh
man.
yeah.
But Lord, just think about that. I'm talking about playing basketball where people aren't trying to tackle me by any means necessary. You got 400 pound men running at you full speed to try to get themselves to a Super Bowl, landing on your ankle, doing all that stuff. And you could see he couldn't even plant on that. But if anybody in the league, Sam, that doesn't need to plant on their back foot is Patrick Mahomes. Like
Yeah.
if anybody that this injury doesn't totally like immobilize, it's him. It's him.
Yeah, to your point though, and Tony Romo even said this on the Bills broadcast, the Bills Bengals game the next day, and he's had high ankle sprains, and I've sprained my ankle, you can probably relate to it. I mean, I've broken my foot. The first couple hours were fine. I couldn't walk on it, but it didn't not fine, but didn't nearly hurt as much as when the adrenaline and the meds wore off. And he's got to be feeling it now. And you have to be a little worried if you're in Kansas City that not, and I love that he got fired up, but you have to save athletes from themselves sometimes.
You do.
And that's what Andy and the coaching staff, who are, bar none, Andy Reid's one of the best, future Hall of Famer, right? So you have your future, you also have the present, but you have the face of not only your team, of your city, of the NFL. So you got to be smart with it, but he's got to be feeling it today. And I know we'll get to it in a second, but I'd be again, 50% of Patrick Mahomes is a lot better than 100% of most quarterbacks. That I will totally admit to that, but it's going to be interesting. Turning the tables here to the Jags real quick. I think they were in this game despite the three and outs, the lost drives, the turnovers. They were still in this game. I think if Mahomes was like healthy, they wouldn't be. But just turning it over, I mean, this is just great experience for Trevor Lawrence, those receivers, that defense, and certainly Doug Peterson. And I mean, even Trevor Lawrence the week before to overcome 4 turnovers in the first half and, beat the Chargers in a playoff game. It's, that's something to build off of. And we've been saying it for a number of weeks now. The Jaguars are going to be that team next year that everyone loves. They're going to get a lot of primetime games. They're going to be right up there with the Lions, like teams that are going to be like preseason favorites to do something. And I think they're certainly trending in the right direction. And they got a hell of, I'm not a fan of Trent Baalke, their GM, and I thought a lot of these spending moves in the last offseason weren't going to work out, but it did. It has. And, again, get an adult in the room, the exact opposite of everything Urban Meyer is. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you don't screw around with Trevor Lawrence. I think you compared him to Andrew Luck last week.
I did. I said he had the most hype since Andrew Luck coming out. I'm going to read this real quick about this young man. Played in a simplistic offense that doesn't require much protection knowledge. Can try to wish some throws open and force things in. Maybe scheme influence, skinny frame. Those are the only 3 negatives that they had on him coming out. And to your point of throwing those picks, it's those wish to force something open. He did that in college, is still holding true because he has the talent to make any throw. And you're going to make mistakes. Everybody does as a quarterback. You're not going to be perfect. But what I truly believe, if he can clean that up, these Jags will not only be in the playoffs next year again, but they will potentially advance and fight for
They'll be
more
a
next year.
contender. Yeah.
Because with, as you also stated, my boy Dougie P. And that game was so hard for me to watch because I have so much love for Doug Peterson and Andy Reid. It was just like, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
like going
former
against,
Eagles coaches against
I,
each other. Look at
I
that.
don't like going, and Doug Peterson comes from the Andy Reid tree. He played for Andy Reid. Like there's a lot of history for me with those two guys. So I just show nothing but respect. But what Doug has done from them being the worst team last year to making the playoffs this year and forcing those guys, that energy that they have down there, shouting, "Do all" in those locker rooms after, and seeing how much it is they're all together, they're fighting, and just seeing how Trevor Lawrence spoke in the post game interview, saying, we had a great run this year. Like nobody expected us to be here, which he's right. Nobody did. Well, people that are Eagles fans and love Doug P did because we know what he does. And I'm just very, very happy for this team. I think they
Yeah.
are going to be absolutely phenomenal next year.
And look
Don't
at
prove me wrong, please.
yeah,
Don't.
and look at the teams that they have to play twice. The
Mm-hmm.
Titans,
Mm-hmm.
who is Tannehill back? Is Derrick Henry? Like, there's a lot that needs to be. I mean, Mike Vrabel is a phenomenal coach, and he's done a lot with little, but that team's not trending in the great direction.
No, they're
The
not.
Texans and the Colts. So I mean, could, this is this is a big moment for the Jaguars and
It is.
well deserved, and probably one of the biggest moments in their history right now. And yeah, you have a franchise quarterback who's a just a winner, and you have a head coach who is a winner, and you have an owner that is willing to spend money and win. And if they can just take advantage of those years like that on a rookie quarterback salary, right? If you can build up that team and when you have to extend Lawrence, hopefully you've made some run into the playoffs like they already did. But again, similar to the Giants, they're playing with house money. No one expected them to be there, but now they're
Mm-hmm.
here. And now you just have to build on that momentum. And there's certainly we've been saying it all year, man. You just said it. I just said it before you. They're going to be a problem for years to come. And you know, I'm still bitter about it because Adam Gase had to win that game against the Rams.
Yeah, and you guys could have had your quarterback in the future. Who knows? You might get Aaron Rodgers. We'll see what happens. Um,
Anyway, though, real quick, I think we kind of alluded to who we like in these games, but the conference title games, NFC and AFC, coming up on Sunday. Just looking back at last week's picks, you went 3-1, I went 4-0. You're right behind me. I'm 8-2. You're 7-3. So we're right there. Anything is certainly possible, but NFC title game, 3 o'clock on Fox. The 49ers head across the country to the link in the Illadelph. Rest in peace, Stuart Scott. We both have the Eagles in this one. I mean, we kind of alluded to it. This team's a problem, man, and this defense is really good, and they're very opportunistic, and they'll get in your 5 sacks against the Giants last week, and they're tough, and just the talent on this team, and Jalen Hurts, man. Just I don't think it's. I would not be surprised if it's not close at all.
I'm not going to get too high or get too low. I just believe the Eagles are the better team. I
I'm really proud of you right now
I don't
because I overshot the. I'll kick the coverage here. I'll take a little of it back. I forgot how good the Niners defense is, but go ahead.
yeah, that's one of the I respect D'Amico Ryans, who is a former Eagle.
Yeah.
And I respect anything he does because I know how he played and his defense plays like him. But with that being said, they also have like the 22nd pass defense, which is not going to help them against the Eagles. But if they can get to Jalen, which that offensive line that the Eagles have, uh, that can change the whole game. If they can get Jalen to run, which I mean he does, but if you can force him off of his spot and get him to make some error throws, which he doesn't do too much anymore, he really takes care of the ball. He took care of the ball for quite some time anyway throughout his whole entire career. But there's too many weapons, I believe, on the Eagles. And I think this is going to be the game that Brock Purdy gets touched a lot.
Yep.
So I think he is going to be seeing the turf a lot. He's going to be in the link, as you mentioned, where it is going to be louder than loud. And so I know Kyle Shanahan has already said that they're going to be working on their silent cadences. They're going to need to be super precise on that, because if they mess up for a second or Purdy messes up for a second, I'm a firm believer that he's going to show his draft pick in this
Yeah.
game. I just am a firm believer, and I've said that it's going to happen to him.
And it happens to every
Does.
rookie quarterback, sure,
And
and every sophomore quarterback. You're absolutely right. You're reading scouting reports. I assume both were from Matt Miller, but I'll tell you a lot of things that I've heard now about his scouting report and even remember from college. I mean, he had a couple like good years where it's like, oh, this kid's pretty good. And then the moments where he tries to do too much. I mean, again, he was at Iowa State. You're it's it's not the SEC, it's not the big, it's not a big school, but trying to do too much. And he's probably going to be in a position where that happens, especially if, they're chasing points and they're behind,
I see
which
what
could,
you did there.
yeah, I let you like that.
I did.
So it's like, it could very well come true. I mean, this defense has kept them in games. He certainly got lucky, but he hasn't lost them games. But yeah, this is no doubt the toughest competition that he will have faced, and it's on the biggest stage of his life. So yeah, there's some concern if you're a 49ers fan for sure in your
I'm
quarterback play.
I will. The reason why I'm also humbled about this, Sam, is this is not the first time that Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts have met in a game, and it was nothing but fireworks. They met in college when Purdy was playing for Iowa State and Hurts was playing for Oklahoma.
Okay.
They Hurts threw for 3 touchdowns and ran for 2 touchdowns in the first half. Purdy had 5 touchdowns and one
Yeah.
rushing touchdown. All right. Oklahoma ended up winning 42-41. It was a nail biter. It's a phenomenal college game. But I'm going to tell you right now, don't think that game is not in both of their heads. They're going to say it's not. I'm sure it's in their head, because you don't forget these things like that, especially in a game like that. And I'm sure they're going to use it as fuel. But just from that and learning about what he did there, Purdy can throw the ball. I just don't. People just did not count him in, and he's just betting on himself. So I respect him so much for that aspect, and I want to put respect on his name, because this young man has stepped in and has not really missed a beat. Period.
Yeah.
I just think that the Eagles are just a way more talented roster, and that's. I don't want to say way more. Actually, I will, because I think offensively, just with Jalen, I think they puts them over the top with that. But they have some killer weapons over there in the Niners, so it's going to be a very, very good game, is what I believe. But I think it could get out of hand either way, honestly.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun game to watch. Again, your Eagles had 268 yards on the ground last week. And again, no, the Giants defense does not compare to the Niners defense, but if the Niners shut down Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, then they got to deal with that running game. And we've been talking about it all year. This team finds a way to win. They win differently every week. So it'll definitely be interesting to watch. But we both have the Eagles here. Turning over to the night game, 6:30 Eastern time on CBS Sunday night. Cincinnati Bengals visit Kansas City. They're in Arrowhead. The banged up Patrick Mahomes, you know, all signs. He says he's playing. Uh,
Do you
you know,
doubt that? You know he's
no,
playing.
I don't doubt that at all. But I have the Bengals in this one. You're going the other way. You have the Chiefs. I'll give you the mic first. Why are you going with the Chiefs? I know you've been wrestling with this all the last couple of days.
One, I'm going with the Chiefs because you're going with the Bengals.
Okay. But
Two,
okay.
two, I think Mahomes is tired of hearing the comparison of Joe Burrow, uh, basically clawing at his heels. I think he's going to put on a show, and he's been balling out this whole entire year. And it's crazy to me that he is in the MVP. He's in the MVP voting. If he's top two, in my opinion, for the MVP of this year.
If it's not
But
him, it's Jalen. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
that's what I feel. But
Yeah.
I genuinely feel that even with him being in that conversation, I didn't hear much about Mahomes this whole year, and I think that is scary. That he wasn't talked about on all the media that I watched. It was the Cowboys, it was the Eagles, it was the Bills, and the only thing I really heard about was, can the Chiefs do it without Tyreek Hill? And then when he continued to ball out each week, and I didn't hear too much about it. I think Mahomes, this is going to be a signature game for him, depending on how that foot holds up. But I also, at the same token, I'm starting to have the Joe Burrow effect as well. It's very eerily similar to the Tom Brady effect. Is I
Onto
don't
the
like
bandwagon.
I don't like going against Joe Burrow at all. Don't know why I'm doing it this week, but I am. I will not be surprised if I come on here next Wednesday and he won. Just won't be surprised, Sam. Why'd you choose the Bengals? I mean, outside of the fact that you've been riding with them for
Yeah, I really like this Bengals team. Again, I Joe Burrow is that dude. But the Mahomes, again, I even just said 50% of Mahomes is better than most, a lot of quarterbacks in this league. But I'm just a little worried about if I was a Chiefs fan about his health in this game and certainly his mobility. Now if anyone can stay in the pocket and still impact a game, he can definitely do it. But you just saw him, just limping around, banged up. Now I think this running game's really good. You know, clearly Isaiah Pacheco is just a runner, man. I mean, not only I think he had the fastest 40 in the draft,
runner.
out of Rutgers. What's up?
He's a runner. He's a track star.
There you go. And then you have Jerick McKinnon, I mean, and CEH, whatever. But it just kind of shows too, you draft CEH in the first round and you got Pacheco in the seventh round, but just I think they have a good running game. The line is certainly really good, and a lot better than recent years. And this defense has played well. But I just think the Bengals are a better team right now, just with health involved. And I would say if Patrick Mahomes was just Patrick Mahomes, like I'd probably pick the Chiefs.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Sam,
Yo,
I saw an article today on Bleacher Report, and it kind of sparked a little idea, a little combo to have with you.
I like ideas.
Now, we have some vacancies for head coaches. Okay.
I've heard.
The Cardinals, the Panthers, the Broncos, Texans, and the Colts. This is predicting where the head coach lands.
Ooh,
Essentially, pin the tail on the head coach.
I like it.
All right. So, who do you have coaching the Cardinals?
Well, I heard they requested an interview with Brian Flores.
Mm-hmm.
I on what is called Black Monday, the day after the season ends and all these coaches get fired. I was watching Sports Center and Louis Riddick was pounding the table for Brian Flores to come in, of all places, Arizona. And, I know there's certainly there's a cloud over Brian Flores for a lot of different reasons, right? A tough guy to get along with, not a player's coach. Um, and certainly, I mean, he sued the league, right? And the Dolphins. There's a lot going on there. But if you're just looking at just an X's and O's guy, a guy who could come in and kind of build a culture, this team, I don't know why Brian Flores wouldn't be at the top of your list. So if those rumors are kind of true, and I know they just got a new GM, um, and I don't really know how the organizational structure that they have down there, but I would say Brian Flores is probably the guy in Arizona if he gets that opportunity. What do you think?
I would love for him to get any of these jobs. Let's just put it out there that way, because ask Mike McDaniels what he walked into. And, when somebody, how you go to like a fancy hotel or a fancy club, and they got valet, and you see all these nice cars, and they hand the keys to the valet. You've seen in
Yeah,
movies like when somebody comes over and acts as valet, and they just take the keys and they go and they drive the car. That's what Mike McDaniels did when he came to the Dolphins. He just took the keys for something that was already beautiful and just said, okay, this is mine now, because Brian Flores built that team up, that defense up to where it is, right? And that team and excelled from there. So I feel wherever he goes, he can build that culture. And he doesn't have to be a coach that the guys like at all,
yeah,
right?
right.
And not everybody's going to like you.
Yeah,
There's going to be certain people in there that are going to like you. If we're winning, everybody's going to like everybody. I don't.
I mean, winning is the ultimate X factor, right? As far as
Look,
culture goes.
listen, Sam, you could talk about my mama, and then we go and win the Super Bowl together. I love you. Hey, bud, we just did this together. You were right next to me the whole time. You know what? It's okay. But if
Much
you're
love to
thinking about
Mama
my,
Hayes, though. I'm
yeah,
not doing that.
smart, very, very
Yeah,
smart.
yeah.
But I could see that. But on that report or that little article, they had Frank Reich as
Okay.
an idea, and I could see that because he is a quarterback guru, and him with Kyler, I think that could change it. I think that could elevate that because he has some good offensive schemes. And I think that would be a great fit for the Cardinals. Now, for the Panthers, who do you have?
Um, I really thought at one point Jim Harbaugh was going to end up in Carolina. Now the Michigan. I said Miami. The Michigan president basically said he's coming back, and that his flirting with the NFL is at least done for now. But I don't know. They've asked to interview like Mike Kafka, right? I'm not entirely sure who else is on that short list from them for them. So I'd probably have to. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it could be a D'Amico Ryans.
Oh, that's great. I mean, the guy who's the interim there now, Steve Wilkes.
Yep,
He's certainly. I mean,
he could see that was going to be my next thing. Is
yeah, he's
I
a
think he
win
could
or
remain
two
there.
away from
Yeah.
winning that division too. I mean, that team turned around after Matt Rule was fired. So Steve Wilkes definitely deserves some attention there for sure.
Yeah, that was gonna be my thought, and I honestly think just with thinking about it more, I think he's gonna be it because
Steve Wilkes.
yeah, I think Steve
Yeah.
Wilkes is gonna be it. Honestly, I do think they're just gonna be like, you know what, like you're here, you're already in this, the roster, the roster already. They loved you, right? The guys, you could see the guys loved him and played for him.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Definitely.
I think he's that guy. I think he just stays there. So yeah, that is gonna be my pick. Yeah. Broncos.
I mean all signs are pointing to Sean Payton. It sounds like we've talked about this too. The family that owns Walmart owns the Broncos now. They did not
Mhm.
hire Nathaniel Hackett. He was already there when they inherited the team. I think you're kind of stuck with Russ right now. We've talked about the cap hit just
Yeah.
being insane for the next couple of years, and you kind of have to work with that. And I think Sean Payton. I mean, all the rumors are trending that way, but it sounds like the Broncos are willing to pay what the Saints want for Sean Payton, and I think that'd be a wise move, especially. I mean, in that division, I know. It certainly crashed and burned from what we thought the AFC West was going to be, but still,
Mhm.
you got to play the Chiefs twice. You got to play the Chargers twice. Even the Raiders, you got to, with the offense that they have, you got to play them twice. You got to be able to put up points in this league, and I don't think they were even able to put up consistently like 17 points, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, they got to get Russ right. They got to, it sounds like they need an adult in the room too, and if sounds like Sean Payton wants to be the head coach there, so I'm going to say him.
So my first pick would be Sean Payton because of what all the reports are saying.
Yeah,
And to your point, it does seem like he wants to be there. But if I'm the Broncos, you just paid Russ a boatload of money.
yep.
You let certain players leave. It's under new ownership, which we don't know if they're going to spend the money or not to do certain things. There's going to be certain type of compensation that's going to come for Sean Payton. Are they willing to move off of that and start their new regime with trading for a coach and getting rid of some future picks? I don't know. I think all that kind of may make the Broncos organization a little weary. And if I were them, I would go with D'Amico Ryans because they already have a phenomenal defense and he's a crazy defensive minded coach. And they're going to need that against the players
It's
like
fair.
Mahomes, what you just said, to stop that. And then if I'm him, I'm go out and find a beautiful offensive minded offensive coordinator and have him run your offense while you call the defense or you oversee it all. And then I think that helps them so much. And I don't mean just get a offensive coordinator that just came off of a high school coaching thing or was a
Right.
junior at your high school and never coached a day in your life. We don't need to get a guy like that. We just so happened Nathaniel Hackett, right? I'm not saying that he wasn't a great coordinator. But that's who I go with there. Texans. What do you got?
I I think there were rumblings like they interviewed Mike Kafka twice. Um, your former Eagle quarterback, right? Drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think D'Amico Ryans,
Ryan's.
certainly would be a great fit there. I would be wary of taking a head coaching job in Houston, especially after how David Culley and um, Lovey were treated recently. But there's nowhere to go but up for this organization. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and you can certainly take the gamble, if you will. I think it is interesting that of all the 8 teams that were left, they were all offensive head coaches. Certainly, to your point, though, you need to stop them.
Yeah.
That's part of the game too. But you got to put up points too. So, yeah, I thought D'Amico Ryans would. Didn't he play for the Texans at one point?
I was waiting for you to not say that so I can bring that point up. Yep.
Yeah. So maybe there's
He's got
it all
ties
works
there
out
still.
there. Yeah. So
He still knows the organization very, very well. And that history would bring him there. But I genuinely think the person that they say is the front runner at this point in time for it is Jonathan Gannon, the Eagles defensive coordinator. He's entered
okay.
for it about two times, I think, already. If they win Sunday, the Eagles win on Sunday, and the defense shows out, Jonathan Gannon will be the head coach of the Texans. And I will tell you this: please ball out Eagles defense so Jonathan Gannon can leave because the Eagles want Vic Fangio and I want Vic Fangio. So please, 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 please ball out so
So
Jonathan Gannon can go.
so here you are, an Eagles fan,
Yes.
enjoying a franchise year, like one of the best years in franchise history, with a very good defense, at
Mm-hmm.
minimal, a very good defense, and you are rooting for the defensive coordinator to leave so you can get
Yes.
another defensive coordinator, even though the
Yes.
defensive coordinator is doing a hell of a job.
Sam, during the Super Bowl run and the year after, I wanted Jim Schwartz gone.
Well, I think a lot of people in Philadelphia wanted Jim Schwartz gone.
He won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's fair.
I wanted him gone too, and it was a great move. Jonathan Gannon, he
Has he been with the team since Jim Schwartz left? or was
No,
fired or
Gannon
what?
came over with Sirianni. That
Okay.
was Sirianni's staff. Um, I don't know. He's got a very punchable face. If I'm being honest, first and foremost, he's got a very punchable face, and I would love to just pow right in the kisser. But
Say that to his face.
I would. I would. I ain't afraid of that shit. Anyway, um, yeah, no, I would. I am thankful for what the defense is doing out there and the schemes up, but he dropped some players in coverage that he doesn't need to drop in coverage, like Mr. Riddick. Just let him go and just continue to ball out. But yeah, that's who I think it's going to be.
Pickup
Uh,
of the year, Hassan Reddick, man.
yeah, he should be defense player of the year, but
I said pickup of the year, but yeah, definitely.
then I
He's
said he
been all
shouldn't be.
over it.
That's all I heard is defensive player of the year. That's all I heard.
Okay. All right. He's good
Colts,
at football.
he is.
I have no idea, man. I predict what Jim Irsay would do is a fool's errand. I mean, we could have sat here and named 100 people to coach this team, and I don't think Jeff Saturday would have made the list. Maybe, but
Nope,
probably not. If you were
never. He
just
would have
someone,
never made the list.
well, I mean,
He was never on my mind to take over the
well,
Colts.
you figure like if you were to get to okay, former Colt great that could just come and stop the bleeding as far as the fan
Stop.
base goes.
Yes, no. It was in the middle of the season. Jeff Saturday was on ESPN. Get up. You would have thought out of 100 people that Jeff Saturday was like, huh, I'm just gonna come
No,
out
if you were
and
going to
go there.
sit there and be like, okay, well, we got to stop the bleeding in the fan base. We got to turn this thing around. This guy's probably not going to last through the season. Who should we get? You know, the first person Ursay called was probably Peyton.
I mean, that would be smart.
So if you go down that list of quote unquote cult greats that could run this franchise, Reggie Wayne, he's on the coaching staff. Like, I don't know. Like Jeff Saturday's probably in that conversation. But yeah, if you name 200 people, it probably wouldn't have been Jeff Saturday from like a
No.
if you were taking this seriously. But Jim Irsay doesn't seem like he takes a lot of things seriously. So
No.
that's why I say Jeff Saturday.
That's
Oh, he could probably ask Roger Goodell to coach the team next year. Who the hell knows? I have no idea, man. I don't know. Who do you think? What's the article say that you read? I have no idea.
said Dan Quinn.
Okay. I like Dan Quinn.
Said Dan Quinn. It could be Dan Quinn. It could also be the Eagles offensive coordinator because he's also in the coaching carousel right now. I honestly don't know. The fact that he just did not choose somebody from the internal staff that was already there was something to me. So I don't know what happens with that whole team. Like we don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. Like it's just
There's a mess
I
in
don't know.
Indy. Who was on Get Up yesterday? Like, we'll just probably pick one of those guys. Rob Ninkovich,
I'd take Dan
Agu.
Orlovsky.
I mean, Dan Orlovsky's been very public about wanting to be an OC in this league or a QB coach, and
You could
just watching him on
break it down. Yeah.
weekday mornings or calling a game, I would definitely be interested in him being part of my coaching staff for sure. But yeah, I don't know, Ryan Clark, just pick some Lou Riddick. I don't know, pick somebody from ESPN. I have no idea, man.
Yeah.
What a great game. What a great way to end a game. I have no clue. That was fun though. What did we call that? Pin of the tail on the coach? Pin of the tail on the okay. Hey, how about we move it to the NBA? Trade happened yesterday. The trade deadline, I think, is like February.
Yes.
So we're getting close there, but there's been rumored for a while that the Lakers need to make a move, and they made one. They sent point guard Kendrick Dunn, second round, and I think 3 second-round picks to Washington for Rui Hachimura, who was the 9th overall pick a couple years ago in the draft. And Rui's averaging about 13 points a game, 4 rebounds. He's playing about 24 minutes this season, so it's going to be 25 pretty soon. And he missed some games this year, but Washington also didn't pick up his option or his player option or whatever for his contract. So, getting rid of him and recouping something as it doesn't seem like he's in Washington's long-term plans. But I know you really like this move, so I'll let you go first. Um, you think this move is going to help the Lakers?
I know the Lakers wanted to get Kyle Kuzma back, which I thought they were smoking crack for. So that's number one. So when Kyle Kuzma is actually doing well for the Wizards, and Wizards didn't want to part ways with him, they wanted a certain amount in return, and the Lakers were not willing to do that, which
Yeah,
I wouldn't have done it either.
and they don't have the assets to do it. Let's
They
be real.
don't. They don't. But Rui is a big body. He's another big body, and you can never go wrong getting an athletic big body with a guy that averages 13 points, 4 rebounds a game, and 1.2 assists. He's young. He's strong. This kid is the first Japanese-born player in the NBA. I absolutely love his game. I think he can do some great things here with this Laker team. But we'll see what happens. But I think it also helps LeBron have another big person down there since Mr. Glass is wherever he is. So yeah, I think this
Yeah,
is a phenomenal move for them. The Wizards are just a like it's a breeding ground for utility players or potential good players. It's like you get drafted by them, you get the NBA experience, and then after a couple of years, teams just poach from the Wizards because they suck. And they might be losing Bradley Beal finally because he has waived his no trade clause, from my understanding, him and Zach LaVine from the Bulls. So Bradley Beal might finally be leaving. Where he's going to go, I have no idea. I'd love to see though. But
and this is why I think last time I said this is why I hate that bird exception where they like can give the hometown guy like more money
yeah,
because they just signed the deal and then they waived their no trade and they're gone. And I mean, to Washington's point, to their benefit, they're going to recoup something
of course.
for Bradley Beal as opposed to him walking. So I mean, I guess that's something. But yeah, and Hachimura played well with Russ Westbrook, so maybe there's some hope there. I mean, you look at the other side. You said big body, and I always just think of Hove, where I used to have a thing for those big body Benzes. That always comes to my mind when someone says that
Good.
in sports. But yeah, looking on the other side of this trade here, Kendrick Nunn, 27, averaging about 7 points a game and a rebound or two a game, an assist a game. I mean, he had a couple really good years when he was with Miami, and it just
Yeah.
hasn't really
Nope. Hasn't turned.
haven't been able to put
Yeah.
it back together, if you will. So, they got something. They got some picks. I don't even know where the Lakers got those picks, but so it's just something. I mean, I definitely the Lakers won this trade. And to your point about the Wizards, the best thing the Wizards have done in a number of years was Kyle Kuzma bobblehead night. Do you see that? Where he was wearing that really giant pink sweater.
No, but that's hilarious. That's awesome.
They gave away a bobblehead wearing like that pink sweater. It was great. I would totally get my hands on one of those.
I probably would too. I probably would too.
But yeah, so that's a big trade. Switching gears to your team though, Kyrie putting up numbers still while your boy KD is out. So an update today, probably about 2 weeks away from playing or 2 weeks away from being evaluated. I just saw the headline there, but 38 points against the Warriors the other day, 46 against the Jazz, 30 against the Suns. Kyrie has put the team on his back and shows that he's still good at playing basketball for sure, even without KD there. Um, and just shows how dangerous this team could be when you get one of the most prolific scorers in NBA history back.
Well,
And
it's about time Kyrie's doing this because shout out to my buddy George. Him and I are talking about Kyrie is the best number 2 ever because he's never been a number 1. Because Kyrie always needs that other guy. He had LeBron, he had KD. He needs a number 1 guy to feed off of. And this is the first time that I believe in Kyrie's career that I've seen him take up for the team and be the leader on the team. seeing how that locker room reacted to him when they beat the Warriors and he came in and everybody was shouting as soon as he was the last guy in, they all shouting for him and he pointed back at them like, nah, it's not me, it's y'all. Going from there is he's got this locker room. They love him. They support him, and that's huge. But this is big for Kyrie because this is a contract year for him. So he should be doing these type of things. He should be doing this all the time because as you and I both know, I've never seen anybody move with the basketball like this in my whole entire life. The last person that I saw that was a wizard with the ball like this was Allen Iverson. And that's saying a lot. Also Jamal Crawford too. But nobody amounts to a Kyrie, period, but what he can do with the basketball. So super happy to see that he's been balling out like this, and super happy to hear the news that KD's only 2 more weeks away with the MCL sprain, because that could have been way worse. That was an update that came through today when we're recording on Tuesday. But yeah, Kyrie, keep balling, keep hooping. You're putting the team on your back for sure. So love it. Love it. Sam.
Yo.
Unk, aka Shannon Sharp,
Unk.
was at the Lakers for a Grizzly Laker game and got into it with Dylan Brooks. Don't know what was said on the court. I think there's a video of it, of what Dylan, I think I was trying to hear what Dylan was saying, but I couldn't make it out. But Dylan was going back and forth with him, and this started with Dylan going at LeBron. Now, if anybody knows, Unk, again, Shannon Sharp, is a huge LeBron James advocate. Loves LeBron.
Which is just funny because his partner on his television show has been banging the table against LeBron for his whole career, which is just a joke.
Yeah, he's been riding LeBron's coattail by just criticizing LeBron. That's how he's stayed relevant. Anyway, so this started the whole chirping between the Grizzlies and the Lakers, more so LeBron. And then Shannon got involved in this to the point that Shannon was standing up, talking to Dylan, and then having to be restrained. Then Steven Adams came over, almost got in his face. Let's be clear. Almost got in his face. One of the team staff got in front of him, pushed him away. Let's be honest. If Steven Adams really wanted to get in Shannon Sharp's face, he would have moved that assistant very easily because he's not a small person. But then he also got into it with Ja Morant's pops, to the point that he had to be escorted out. After the game, they asked Dylan Brooks what happened. Dylan Brooks proceeded to call Shannon Sharp a regular pedestrian. Hall of Fame tight end, one of the greatest tight ends ever, which means he's one of the greatest football players ever, is just a regular pedestrian. Listen here. I need y'all to listen. Dylan Brooks, you're a good player. Not a great player. You're a good player. Dylan Brooks, if anybody is a regular pedestrian, it's you. And especially if we're talking Shannon Sharp and you.
Hall of Famer.
Yes, Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp.
Best at his position of all time.
Still super relevant and hasn't played football in years. Shannon Sharp, one of the greatest athletes ever. And you just called that man a regular pedestrian. Dylan, you are a bum. You've talked a lot. I love the grit that this young Grizzly team has. And you need to have that, especially being in the West. But you got to know who you're talking to. You bark at Braun, you got to know who you're talking to. You're barking at Shannon Sharp. Young man, if you would have walked over there, Shannon Sharp would have dropped you on your neck. And you might have been out for the rest of the season, because I think you're forgetting that Shannon Sharp is a football player and he is way stronger than you, young man. And he will lift you up and put you down and tuck you in. Shannon Sharp apologized on Monday. And I'm really, really, really upset that he had to do that. But I understand why They made him do that. I wish Skip would have done that after the whole DeMar Hamlin thing, but guess not. But we know who's the bigger man in that situation anyway. Sam, what do you think of this whole regular pedestrian thing?
Well, I think that's absolutely ridiculous, as I just stated. But like you go to bed, you wake up in the morning, you eventually check your phone. Some people, it's the first thing they do. I mean, it's certainly up there with one of the first things I do, for better or worse. And then you just read, the updates, ESPN, Bleacher Report, The Athletic, wherever you get your news. And I see that I'm like, wait, what? What? And then like John Morant's dad, and I'm like reading all this stuff. And I was like, okay, okay. So I thought the whole thing was comical. I don't really even know where it kind of started from. Like Shannon was basically saying that Brooks couldn't guard LeBron, right? Which is fair. Even LeBron at 37, 38 years old is
Not many
one of the,
people guard LeBron.
yeah,
Period.
not many people can guard that. He's one of the most physically empowering athletes this world has ever seen. And not many people can do that, as you mentioned, even in his, late in his career. So it's just solid joke. I know the Grizzlies really like this whole like no one believes in us, like chip on our shoulder thing, and it works for them. And they almost won some big games last year, and I think the future is very bright for them.
Agreed.
As you know, John Morant's one of my favorite players of all time, and the Knicks getting the third pick in the draft that year, I was more, and I've said this a million times on this pod, I was more bummed about not getting Ja than Zion. I would have taken Ja Morant first
I don't
overall.
blame you.
And I don't look crazy saying that 4 years later, or whatever, however long it's been. But yeah, this works for the Grizzlies. This is like in their culture, like the whole chip thing. So
Yeah,
like, good for them. If this is what they need, it's fine. But it's ridiculous.
I agree. Also, the trade deadline is on the horizon. It is February 9th. So we would definitely follow back on that one. And now we will get to Do You Care? Sam, what do we have? Oh, you added some things on Do You Care. Sam was working over here. What
Well,
we
we just got some breaking news as we're recording this podcast, so I had to make sure it was updated.
That's
But
fair.
yeah, man, do you care? Our soon to be award-winning segment. Check this out. Ready? Tom Brady was on his podcast. Don't remember what it's called. Don't really care. Uh, and Jim Gray, his buddy in the media, Jim Gray, asked him about retirement
It's the
and
Let's Go podcast, by the way.
let's go podcast. Okay, that makes
Tom
sense.
normally yells when he comes out. Mhm.
Right. And asked him if he was going to retire, or when he was up at the podium on, whenever they lost that game a couple weeks ago, if he should announce his retirement. And he had a lot of things to say.
Oh, he didn't have a lot of things to say. He had one very direct thing to say. And if you don't like cussing, now is the time to fast forward a little bit. He literally said verbatim, Jim, if I knew what I was going to fucking do, I had already fucking done it. Okay. I'm taking it a day at a time. I appreciate your asking. Thank you. Then Jim went on to say, which doesn't show me in this, but I heard the clip. Jim went on to say, well, that sounds like that kind of irritated you. And Tom said, you're scratching. He's like, I feel like you're scratching. So basically saying that he feels like he's trying to dig for something, but everybody wants to know, Tom, what you're doing, just like everybody wants to know what Aaron Rodgers is doing. So I do care to know why he reacted this way. Like I know the whole world wants to know, Tom. I mean, you are the person that retired and then unretired and played a whole season. So you definitely know that everybody wants to know. And people are going to ask you no matter where you are. If you're in front of a mic, you're in media, people are going to ask you this question. It's easier to find out what Aaron Rodgers is doing is because he always shows up on the Pat McAfee show and he pretty much tells you what's going on. So I do care because it was surprised to hear Tom Brady react like this on media. Like you've never heard him
on his own
do that. And
podcast
that's exactly
with
where he
his
could have.
own co-host.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was very, very
Dude,
interesting.
look, Tom Brady gets a pass for a lot of the childish behavior that he has because he's Tom Brady,
Mm-hmm.
and we've documented it, and I'm not even gonna, I don't need to go into it, right? But like, as you mentioned, and as I said before we started recording, dude, the only thing people want to know from you right now, Tom, is what you're going to do.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it. It is a completely reasonable question for Jim Gray to ask.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Anyone, whether you're a journalism student or you're as accomplished in this world in media as Jim Gray is, you're going to ask that question.
Yep.
And to act like that, like, just kind of like the dude's unhinged. I don't want to talk, we've talked about it. I don't want to talk about like his personal life and stuff, but that he's not acting the way that he has acted for so long. And certainly people change, and there's a lot going on off the field. There's a lot going on the field for him. And he's certainly not the player he used to be, even
Mm-hmm.
though he is probably, he keeps his body, in check. And he's, for a 45-year-old or whatever old is, he's in really good shape. But Father Time's undefeated, and he's probably grappling with that even more than last year,
I'm
you
sure.
know. And, you know, yeah, he retired, unretired. He can't quite play the way he used to. He didn't have success the way he used to this year, and he's probably frustrated. But
I mean,
dude, it's your own podcast. They're gonna ask you that question.
well, he has the right to say it and do that.
Sure.
I wish Dak Prescott would do that when and stop asking and being this angel, the saint of a person when they ask him all these questions and say all the right things. Like I wish sometimes Dak would just be like, "Okay, I suck. Are we done now? Can we shut the hell up about it?" Like I wish Dak would just do that once, and just so we can talk about that. Like, oh, Dak got testy. Like I like that. Like I want to hear some fight sometimes in people, and because I can only imagine Sam. Like we're regular degulars compared. Like we're all regular people, but these people just so happen to be excel in certain things and are very famous. We don't have a camera, a microphone shoved in our face in our lives every single day, right? I'm sure I know, I can speak for myself, can't speak for you. I know if I everywhere I went, a microphone was in my face every single day, I'd probably at some point be like, all right, can y'all chill the hell out? Like, let me do me, and then I'll tell you about it, right? So he has the right to do this. He earned the right to do that. But it's just,
Right.
I don't
If he
think
was
Jim Gray should have been the one that caught the stray. Like, I
right,
just don't think that.
but even if, and he was probably asked this, and he was it sounded like a swan song when he was up at that podium after the
Mhm.
Cowboy game that they lost the wild card game. Like it sounded like that was the end. And whether it was probably asked at that time, I didn't watch. I only saw some clips from that news conference, but
Mhm.
this is his podcast, dude. This is his podcast. If you were to go, if we were more public figures, right? Like, and you went and something like the Shannon Sharp incident happened to you or me,
Mhm.
wouldn't we address it the next week? You can make a case like it's our podcast. We're not going to talk about it because we can
Oh, I mean,
control
we
it.
could talk about it, but I'm gonna say what I feel like saying. Like, especially I say what I
But
feel
this
like
isn't
saying here.
some Boston Globe reporter, like beat reporter, like reaching out for a comment. This is his podcast. It's just kind of like, dude.
Keep going back to it's his podcast. Yeah, it's his platform to say whatever the hell he feels like saying and be free to say
But
what
he
he wants to
sounded
say.
like he caught a stray, like out of nowhere. Like, where's this coming from? It's like when
Because I don't
athletes are like, wait, what do you mean? Why do I have to answer this? The
well
only thing anyone's
about this.
talking.
Think about this. You and I do pre-production. I do pre-production for this one, do pre-production for the other podcast. You talk about the things that you're going to talk about. I'm pretty sure the way he reacted to that, Jim didn't talk to him about it. He
Yeah,
asked
it
that
probably
question.
came out of nowhere.
And it
And he didn't
probably
want to talk
and
about it.
exactly my point. And Tom didn't caught off guard on his own podcast and didn't know that question was coming. And he was like, not fucking here too.
Well, you
I
talk
mean,
about elephant in the room. That is the elephant in the room.
of course, but he's human too, and he's
Oh,
gonna get fed up. It happens. It happens. But we've spent way too much on Tom Brady and his
all right, all
personal
right, all
thing.
right.
But
Here's
yeah,
something I could care even less about. Bill O'Brien's coming back to New England. He's going to
yeah.
be the offensive coordinator. He was at Bama the last couple of years. You can remember that he made some really bad trades in Houston and was fired
Mhm.
as the Texans head coach. Do you care?
No.
Yeah, me
Uh,
neither. Greg Roman. Also, I don't even want to talk about it. Greg Roman's not coming back as a Boston OC. I think that's a mistake.
Baltimore OC. Yes.
Baltimore OC. I think it's a mistake, but I can understand it.
I don't.
Uh, it. I would not be surprised if Lamar is not on this team.
I don't think it's a mistake because they've been interviewing passing offensive coordinators, which means that they want to focus on the pass game, which means they want to focus on Lamar and getting the ball down the field more and let Lamar do what he has to do, which means that they probably will be looking at more wide receivers to bring in. So I
This
like
team,
that.
man.
But the issue is here. There's only one issue that remains here. Are you going to pay Lamar or not? That's it. You can keep telling the media that and putting out these little pieces and be like, yeah, we want to really do this and we want to really sign Lamar. Lamar is our guy. You can do all that. Have John Harbaugh get in front of us and do all this stuff and rah rah. We want Lamar and yeah, that's cool. But this is a business at the end of the day, and I feel like they just don't want to pay this man what he wants, which is guaranteed money, the Deshaun Watson money, which he, in my opinion, he absolutely deserves. So I see what's happening. I do like Greg Roman though.
That's fair. Good points. Still don't care, but care more about him than Bill O'Brien.
That's fair.
I guess anything is better than what New England had in their offensive
I mean, it's just.
coordinator room.
I
So
think it's just a move just to help Daniel. Not Daniel. What's his name? What the hell is homeboy's name? Well, I can't remember. He's
Mac
so.
Jones,
Thank you. Uh,
McCordle Jones,
I knew there was a Jones, but I
Mr.
think they
Jones,
just
and me.
wanted to help him because he was on the same staff as him with Bama, like you said, and I think that's the only reason, and also, well, one of the only reasons, and also that he has worked with Bill before. So it's familiarity with two things, and I think that's really it. So whatever.
Sure, great, awesome. Uh, some international games are coming back, of course, to the NFL. The NFL announced that the home teams for three London games will be the Bills, Titans, and Jags. And in Germany, they played one game last year in Germany, and now they're playing two with the Chiefs and the Patriots, both going to be featured in those games. Do you care?
Yes, because it's major teams. When you sent this to me during the week, well, some major teams in here. You have the Bills, a heavyweight. You have the Chiefs, a heavyweight. Uh, Patriots, not so much anymore. Jags will be. They were just overseas this year, right?
Well,
Or
the Jags like play a game
they
over there every
over there
year.
like every year, right? Yeah. So Jags are like stationary there. And then having the Titans over there too, which is cool. I want to see. I wish they would take. I know why they don't do it because they want to make sure they make the money here. But I would take one of the top teams. I would take the top four teams every year that are in the final four every year, and I would put them over there in an international game every year because people remember that, right? And then I would start maybe like week 3 the international games just to kind of like keep that buzz of the rematch of this matchup out in London or in Germany to build the buzz there. I know they want to keep it here in the States for those big games, but if you're trying to grow that, you need to put a game like that out there because the games out there have been it's people early wake up calls. Like people forget. Like how many times during those games have you forgot that it was like an early morning game, right? If it's a big major game, like let's just say the Chiefs Bengals play next season in London, and then the Eagles Niners play in Germany, and it's a rematch of the divisional. You're not going to wake up in the morning and watch that to see the rematch, right? That would be big numbers for your TV broadcast, right? And bigger numbers there, and it's going to also bring more people out, I believe, in that point. So I do care. I think that would be really, really, really cool, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned to you, it's about time some bigger teams get over there. But I think like the NFL goes about scheduling like where the NFL people will watch
Yeah, always. Yep.
always. So I mean, you see Monday Night Football schedule is not nearly as good as Sunday night because ESPN pays less and it's cable. And now with the Prime deal, Amazon Prime on Thursday nights, not everyone has Prime and or before that NFL Network. And the matchups aren't always great. They're usually division matchups, but you look at the schedule before the season starts, like before the surprise teams and the surprise busts, and nothing ever jumps out. There's an opportunity at least for better games to happen. These island games, right? Where it's like they're the only game on TV,
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
it's NFL Network or I know ESPN Plus had a game. Like they're doing a lot of different things here, but it would only benefit the NFL to just have better island games. And I feel like they usually stray away from it because they can get away with it. And, they make more money year after year, hand over fist. So I don't think it really matters. But, you know, Goodell planted his flag down during the season about international games. And now now there's two games in Germany. Last 2 years ago, there weren't any games in Germany.
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah.
it's it's not going away. Um and you know, yeah, whatever. I just think it's about time that there's a little bit better matchups there. But all right, we'll end with this, man. The Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame, class of 2023 was just announced, and there's only one guy on it. It's former Philly, Cardinal, and Blue Jay and Reds great Scott Rowland. 17 big league seasons. He was voted in. He got 76.3% of the vote. This year, you have to get over 75. Last year, he got 63%. Um, career 281, 1200, 1300 RBIs, 316 home runs. Uh, Certainly a dominant defensive third baseman. And if you look at that ballot, probably the only guy that I would have considered in the Hall of Fame if you don't talk about Carlos Beltran or A-Rod for obvious reasons. Um, this and Fred McGriff was elected last month with the contemporary. It used to be called the forgot what it used to be called, but now it's like the contemporary baseball era. It used to be called like the Veterans Committee or
Mhm.
something like that. Fred McGriff and Scott Rowland will be in the Hall of Fame come June or July, whenever they do that. What are your thoughts?
Anybody that puts in work like this throughout their career deserves to be acknowledged and put into and elevated to this next level. So shout out to Scott Rowland for that. My question to you is: so now, being that he's the only one, they still go to Coopertown for just this one person now,
Oh yeah, they'll do the whole thing.
just for him,
Well, there's also I
like
know the
coaches and
Veterans
stuff like that,
Committee
right?
put like other guys in the Hall of Fame too. There's usually a media award. Yeah, there's a media award. There's you know, executives, coaches. They do the whole thing.
Okay.
They're certainly going to do it. And there's been years where no one gets in where they still do it with some of these not as big names, if you will.
Okay. Interesting.
So yeah, it's definitely I mean Scott Rowland is not the draw that some of these guys are, but I
No.
think if you looked at that ballot, probably the only person I would have voted for was Scott Rowland. Um, I think Beltran will eventually get in, and I've certainly turned around on the whole steroid guys. I used to like die on that hill. Especially when I was in like high school and college when all of this was really like the steroid era was unraveling.
Mhm.
But, I think A-Rod, as far as just like it's not only that he got caught once, he got caught several times and he lied about it so blatantly for so long. I think you probably see a case where A-Rod is even though he's kind of done a lot to change his image, certainly with the TV stuff. But I don't think A-Rod gets in anytime soon. So I mean, looking ahead at next year's ballot, the only guy that really jumps out at me here is that'll eventually get in the Hall of Fame. Maybe not first ballot is Adrian Beltre.
Mhm.
Just dominant, dynamic third baseman for all the years that he played in the league. But other guys on that ballot: Jose Batista, Adrian Gonzalez, Matt Holliday, Jim Johnson, Victor Martinez, Joe Mauer. He probably will get in at some point too. Brandon Phillips, Jose Reyes, Chase Utley, David Wright. So, there's probably, it's a little lean for the next couple of years, but the guy made it to Cooperstown. So kudos, Scott Rowland.
Good.
And kudos to you, Brandon. Thanks for being here for me every Tuesday night.
Thanks. Thanks, Sam. I'm
So that's it.
awkward.
Episode 85 of the Chasing Points podcast is in the books. Thank you so much for listening, however you listen. Thank you so much. For Brandon, my name is Sam. Till next time, peace.
So it is playoff time. And
Playoffs.
And your spread means something. Okay. If you are inviting me over to your house and there is no type of wings or potential alcohol beverage, even if I'm not drinking, I hope you have some or not, and some fire dip, do not invite me over your house. I will flip your house upside down and order food for myself if I have to sit there for my game, if I drove a distance. And I will sit in the corner and eat my food while you look at me eat this delicious food that you did not provide me with. No, this did not happen to me. Don't think that. But I need to have some good wings. Some gold 2K wings, 24K wings, excuse me. Some nice seasoned fries. Could be waffle fries, could be disco fries or poutine, Give me some empanadas to go there. Some lovely pizza, pepperoni, or meatball, or even a nice cheese slice. But if you have a cheese slice, you got to have the crushed red peppers. All right?
Always.
We get to the wings. I need all flats. I can do without all flats, but I need all flats. Okay?
You're picky, man.
I am. I need to know what I need to know, right? When we go to a friend's house and there's nothing there and we say we're going to order food, I have a choice then. But if the spread is not there, Sam, I'm out.
Dude, you should have came to the Fava Bowl all those years when I was growing up. My mom.
I wasn't invited.
Crazy. Yeah, well, I'm sure you were there at some point.
I was not invited.
You've never been to a Fava Bowl?
No.
Ask the people about it.
No, I don't want to ask the people about it. I wanted to be
I
there
should do one.
myself.
I should have one.
All right. See,
Super
Sam
Bowl
just
Sunday.
heard this. He just made me upset now. So goodbye, everybody. See you on next
God,
one.
I wanted this to end.
Whatever. Bye.